Welcome back. You are tuned into another episode of The Last Word on Rugby. The box season is slowly creeping closer and closer. The reality hit with the SA Rugby Awards of this past week, where with me today, as usual, John Goliath and Mike Greenaway. John and myself had the privilege of rubbing shoulders with some of the box and some of the management. You'll hear more from John in terms of the inside whispers in that Springbok camp and what the alignment camp brought. And then, of course, Mike, he has been dissecting it from another view, and we will get into it with him in terms of just what is the things he's seen from those alignment camp presses and what we can expect. Also, we have a massive URC derby, North versus South at Loftus, and then an exciting end to the Six Nations Championship. 3 teams still in the running to win that. What a surprise. Now, if you haven't yet, click that like button, subscribe to our channel at The Clutch ZA as we look to bring you the latest Springbok news, but also some international views. John, Mike, welcome again. John, let me start with you. We attended the SA Rugby Awards. Yes, what a spectacular evening down here in Cape Town. I know the KZN and Gauteng guys are missing out very
Yeah,
much when it comes to that. But Malcolm Marx, a crown for his second time as SA Rugby's Player of the Year, and some other great awards that went down there.
yeah, it was. I think it was a fantastic evening. Quite a few surprises for me as far as the awards were concerned.
Yeah.
I think Malcolm Marx, he won World Player of the Year, so was the obvious
It's a
choice
given.
for,
Mm.
yeah, Springboks Player of the Year. But I thought maybe Sasha Feinberg and Gombazulu could have walked away with another couple of
A
awards.
couple more.
He won the URC Player of the Year, but I thought he would have been a shoe-in for the Young Player of the Year award.
Mm. Yeah.
After that fantastic season he had last year, in the end it went to Ethan Hooker, who I thought was also brilliant in his first
Yeah.
season, his rookie season for the Boks. But other than that, not many surprises, and it was good to chat
Mm.
to some of the management team and some of the players as well who let their head down. I think it
Yeah.
was the last day of the alignment camp, so they had
Mm.
a bit of a break. So the sponsors, brandy was flowing, and beer was flowing quite freely, especially towards the end of the evening. But it was a spectacular night.
I can
And
just,
I want to touch on that. It's so lucky to see the guys. We always see them in this environment where they are so dialed in, they zoned in, they want to focus on getting it right at the weekend, that you don't really see them let their hair down like that. You don't see them rub shoulders with people that's not brought into so that they can sign a few things. They were everyday people, sponsors, and that attended the event, but it wasn't a signing session where they had to be prim and proper. The guys could enjoy themselves,
Yeah.
enjoy their beers, have a chat with whoever they wanted to, and then just spend some time in the company of each other before they stuff each other up on a weekend again. Mike, I wanted to say it was a win for Kings Park with Ethan Hooker stepping away with
yeah,
a young player award there.
yeah, yeah, and just to go back to Sasha not cleaning up with the awards, and I say this with tongue in cheek, maybe Russie and even John Dobson had a word with the judges. Let's take the spotlight off this
Yeah.
righty. Part of our project to get him back to playing his best. Shame, man, and yeah, and I mean, we heard John Dobson earlier this week talking about exactly that. You know, that the noise around this guy is just too much, as strong as he is in terms of his character, it has to kind of affect you. Yeah, yeah, Ethan Hooker, I liked what he said afterwards in his interview. He seems like a very grounded young man to me. And he just spoke about how when you get an award like that, you think back to your debut and you think about all that effort, all those sacrifices he made as a teenager because he had that dream of being a Springbok. And then it comes together and he said, I just took a minute and just sat back and thought about all those days when I was doing my hill sprints and I was doing this and doing that.
Yeah.
It makes it all worth it. Yeah, I think he's going to go far. He also even spoke about potentially following Andre Esterhuizen into the hybrid role. His actual words were, I've always figured myself as a bit of a forward in the back line because I like doing the hard work. But yeah, well done, Ethan Hooker.
Yeah,
So
sorry if I can just add to that. I mean, the matches he played in some of the high pressure situations last year because he basically he leapfrogged Kurtley Arends at one stage. Kurtley was injured and then couldn't really come back straight back into the team after Ethan Hooker's performances, especially in Wellington, where he was just unplayable at times. We remember that break that led to Cheslin Colby's second try in that second half, his ability under the high ball. And he is a massive weapon. We spoke about contestable kicking over the last couple of weeks and the influence that has had on the game in terms of players not being able to block or shepherd or whatever you call it. And now with his aerial ability and plucking the ball out of the air, it's on attack. It really gives the box a massive weapon. So yeah, well done to him. But if we can get back to the Sasha conversation, which I think it's a big one for us in terms of what Dobbo said this week about maybe making him captain too soon, and all the responsibility and so on. And I think from what I can see, he's a guy that relishes that responsibility. He's a guy who wants to lead from the front. He's always been that type of person. But we must also remember he's only 22, 23 years old. He's basically still a baby when it comes to big rugby and test rugby. So we must also allow space for him to make his mistakes, to learn from them, and that's going to be, I think, key for him. But yeah, I think the Stormers at this point, they also need for their other leaders maybe to step up a bit. In terms of a Damien Willems, I'm looking at a Warwick Galant, who hasn't been great this season, and he's basically hanging on to his place still in that team. So the Stormers as senior players, they also need to rally a bit around him, because he can't do it on his own, and that's at the moment that's what he's trying to do, but he can't do it on his own.
Yeah. And another great thing for me that came out of that chat with him is that he knows where he needs to be, and he knows he's not there at the moment and he wants to get back there. But it's also going to take that realization, and like Tony Brown said last week, he shouldn't want to do it on his own, all on his own. And I think that's a good thing why the captaincy is not with him anymore. That he doesn't have to lead the side on his own, lead them in terms of the captaincy, but also lead them on the attack, leading them from out of pressure when they are under the pump. He shouldn't be the only leader. And I think it's vital for the Stormers now to just take that weight off of him completely, with a crucial game coming up, and having him get back to the baller that racked up that record points all against the Argentina, and the one that's taken the Stormers 10 jersey last season when he came back from that injury by the scruff of the neck, and that's the reason why he was voted URC Player of the Year for South Africa. Another couple of awards before we move on. Kudos to Nadine Roos. I mean, what a stalwart of South
Mm.
African women's rugby. She has been absolutely brilliant in both codes. I mean, when one team needs her, she doesn't say, "Hey, wait, it's the Women's World Cup this year. I want to be fresh." And a lot of 15-man rugby players would say something like that. Well,
Mm.
it's a World Cup
Mm.
year. I don't want to play too much. I don't want to do too much. But she has been all over the show, leading the Springbok Sevens
Mm.
women, leading the Bok Women Sevens, the Bok Women 15
Mm.
15s team. And she has just shot the lights out. So much so that questions keep popping up. When is she going to return to women's provincial rugby? But she's still helping the sevens. She wants them to return to the top league on
Mm.
the World Series. And hopefully she can do that because there's a lot of good players coming through that she can mentor to get them back to where they need to be.
Yeah, and Leeds, if I can just come in there, she's been around for a while. I mean, she still looks so young. I think she's
Mm,
29,
mm,
30. And I like what she said also in her post-award, if you like, interview, where she said the women's game is just flourishing. It's never been so healthy. She said, I
mm.
remember when I started, we had no tests a year, and we went to 5 tests a year. Now we've got 10 tests a
Yeah.
year. I mean, they're almost playing as many tests as the men's now. Yeah, so is she going to have a chance to play too much provincial rugby because the ladies are catching up to the men? They're going to
Mm.
need their
They
Springbok
are.
protocols too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for for me, I think if we look back at last year and what the Springbok woman achieved, I mean, she was at the forefront of it. She even caught a line out ball, if you guys remember,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
15 lady line out they had the ball going. So but one thing I also heard at the awards was that the women's players are the salaries have gone up a lot,
Mm,
and they are getting a lot more money. They are playing so they are a lot more professional. They can actually now focus and make this a career for them.
yeah.
So which is something that I think it's so important,
Mm.
especially if you want to attract the next generation of girls coming through and playing this game. It's so important for the guys at the top to earn good money, to make a living, and to be professional, so that that we can also compete. We saw how they competed at the World Cup, making quarterfinals for the first time, and for the next World Cup, you would now expect them to go a step further, maybe make it into the semifinals. So that should be the evolution of the women's game in this country.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant to see that they are taking those strides in getting the women up there, especially on a domestic level. Um, and then before we know it, in a couple of years' time, we know I interviewed Nadine and she said they are very happy that they're doing the opening games for the box this season. In a couple of years, mark my words, the Springbok men will be playing opening games for the Springbok women. You heard it here first on the last word on rugby. Guys, yeah, it's been good to see what came out of the lineman camp. We touched on it a bit earlier. Just to conclude that, Mike, some good young players got to mix
Yeah.
with senior guys, and they got a first taste of what Bok rugby looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like what Rassie said. He said about the 11 or 12 youngsters that had that experience. He said, look, it's yes, we want for them to get a taste of it, see how our systems work, the standards that are required, and those guys will leave inspired. I think I wrote a lot of them will go straight to the gym, straight to the athletics track. They're walking on water after being in that, rubbing shoulders with those guys. But Rassie said also it's important for the senior guys to see that there is a plan for youngsters coming in to replace them if they don't pull finger. So it's you have got the seniors, but now they're looking at over their shoulder, saying, "Hey, Rassie's watching these guys who are in my position. I must keep playing myself." So it's healthy on a number of fronts.
Oh, it was, I mean, of the 11 guys, I mean, some birdies were tweeting in our ears during a couple of cold ones that, there are some guys that may actually feature and will feature quite heavily this year. A guy like Sebastian de Klerk, don't be surprised if you
Yeah.
see him involved over the next 6 months or so with the Springboks. He's been absolutely fantastic with the Bulls. A great talent, a guy with a lot of speed, good feet, but also tackle, fight, commitment, and I think that basically ticks all the boxes that Rassie and his coaching staff always are always looking at in terms of the outside backs. And then guys, the kid from the Sharks, the hooker, I think
Yeah.
also one of the bolters. I can't get to his name now.
You're talking
But
about Kai Pratt?
no,
Kai
no, no,
Pratt?
the hooker.
He's the prop, yeah.
SA2 is at the Bulls.
Oh, sorry, at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
watch out for that guy. He is highly rated. The guys really rate him and already touting him as the possible next superstar generational talent player. He is apparently a beast of a rugby player. I haven't seen him play, but from what I hear, that guy is going to feature strongly over the next couple of years. Might not be this season, but over the next couple of years, post the World Cup, where a lot of guys will be retiring.
Yeah, and the other guy I'm looking forward to seeing, and maybe if you look at last week's episode, you will see Chiswell Eustace's name being mentioned as well. But there's another name that was whispered between a few brews, having some brews. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see how they go about it, because he is still eligible for the junior box, and he's highly likely to go for a second junior world championship this year. But then hopefully he can slot straight into the box if they need him, if they want to use him. It would be great if you have a junior Bok champion heading straight into the box setup. I don't know when last we've seen something like that, but that's another speedster that we can hopefully see soon grace the Bok jersey.
Sorry, man, John, the hooker from the Bulls you're talking about, Isetu Nabelele. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. No, I think he comes highly rated, highly rated. Everybody was raving about him. Just his sort of performances in the gym. Sort of, yeah, people are really excited about that kid.
Yeah. No, it's going to be an interesting season, because the I think some plans would have changed over the last week, in terms of the Nations Championship for Rassie. After seeing what Scotland has done in the Six Nations Championship, and then the way England have gone, maybe it's good to experiment with the England side and then send the stronger side to face Scotland the next week. Mike, you've been in on it. I
Yeah.
don't know, what have you made of the Six Nations?
Yeah, so at the start of the Six Nations, when we were looking at it from a Springbok point of view, we were saying, all right, all the big guns for England and then rotate against Scotland and Wales. We might have to rethink that. Yeah, look, what's happened to England? Jeepers, they've fallen off a cliff. 12 consecutive wins and now 3 consecutive losses. And they're going now to Paris to play a much chastised French team who have just lost a game. I can't see England winning in Paris. That will be their 4th loss in a row. The last time they lost 4 matches in a row, or 4 matches in a Six Nations or 5 Nations, whatever it was 1976. So I think they will lose in Paris. And then their next game is Ellis Park against South Africa. So I think they're going to go. That'll be 5 in a row. I can't see them beating South Africa at Ellis Park. But yeah, going back to the other games, I mean, Scotland, wow, where did that come from? It's such a funny game because this not long into the Six Nations, Steve Borthwick of England was talking about building an empire. Now his empire collapsed in the ruins of Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Battle
Gregor
to find-
Townsend.
And Gregor Townsend was on the last John Saloon.
Exactly. He was
block.
staring down the
Completely
barrel.
flipped.
The firing squad was ready. He was tied to the pole. And then he miraculously escaped.
And puts 50 points past, first of all, completely overwhelms England. And then
Yeah.
puts 50 points past France. And guys, let's not kid ourselves about the score because France started to play in the last 15 minutes when
Yeah.
Scotland took the foot off the accelerator. The game was won. They were
Exactly.
almost in the pub already with their Jameson's is Irish whiskey with their their finest Scottish.
Double malt.
The single malt.
Yeah, so I mean that really was a rout of France. What to take from it is that Scotland, jeepers, they were dynamic. They were fast. They were skillful. They were just took France apart. I think it's possible that France might have gone there a little bit cocky. The Cockerels were a bit cocky. But take nothing away from Scotland. And what about Kyle Steyn? Jeepers, that kid from Johannesburg is playing brilliant rugby. I thought he was outstanding. And when he went off injured, it was a measure of the respect the Scottish crowd have for him that he got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
I mean, he just plays his heart out, and he's a superb athlete. He's stocky, built over like the proverbial brick outhouse. So Scotland, wow, they go to Ireland now. That's and what depending what happens in the early game. No, what is the early game? I think it's the France game. France-England is the early game. So I mean, let's just say England by some miracle win that game. Scotland could end up Six Nations champions if they beat Ireland, of course. But wow, all I can say is the Six Nations is an exceptional tournament. I just love it. Every game is sensational. We haven't even spoken about Italy yet.
But it's been the best. Has this been the best Six Nations for a while now? I mean, normally we speculated before the tournament that it's between England and France.
Yes.
Yeah.
We completely wrote off Ireland and Scotland and even Italy, Wales, of course. But this has been basically on any given day, Wales could have easily won 3 matches. This season. It's been crazy. So what it means for the Boxers that they they'll need to be at their best every weekend. So and basically everybody's going to be on an equal footing. Also by the time we get to July, because England would have had a break They would have basically almost will go into preseason ahead of the match, and then the Springboks will also go into their camps, and as we know from last year, when they get together now in June, those camps are brutal. So it's gonna be interesting to see who's gonna make the fitness standards, who's gonna pass the fitness test, because as we know, this is an aging Bok team, and they can't take any of the teams they play in these
Mm.
nations, what do we call it? The nation series. You
Championship.
can't take anybody for granted.
Yeah, yeah. Look, yeah, it's going to be an interesting week of Six Nations rugby. I think it is Scotland and Ireland that kicks us off with
Is
the
it?
afternoon game, and then France and England will pull down the curtain on
Okay.
what was a very exciting Six Nations, one that no one could have called. No one. We were adamant that
Mm.
this is this at the start of the Six
Yeah.
Nations, but see our rugby just tells you, don't predict me. I will predict how games turn out. That's been amazing. Guys,
No, but
just
one
the last thing to zone in on that North-South derby. It it's the final game featuring local SA sides against each other in terms of the round robin matches in the URC, and this could be it could be a path setter for, if I can call it that, for the Bulls or the Stormers. It can send the Stormers on a path to the top three of the URC, and with some nice games left at home, and a couple of tour games, they can go on to secure a top two spot. But it can also send them on a path further down the slope they are currently on. I mean, losing four games on the trot to local teams, that will be tough, and I wonder if they will be able to recover from that. And then the Bulls, of course, after hitting a losing streak, they are forming a brilliant winning streak under Akkers at the moment. And it's Fort Loftus. They've pumped the Sharks and the Lions there. Now it's only to do the same to the Stormers this weekend.
Shall I go? Yeah, yeah. Look, so the Bulls lost seven in a row. Okay, they've now won four in a row. It was interesting to hear Marcel Coetzee talk about their turnaround. He said, everyone was looking at big changes we must make, or what's going on, or is it the coach? He said, we always knew that we were just one game away, that we were so close. If we could just get one, then we could start the momentum going. He said, we just got together as a group and we said, let's just keep the faith. Let's just keep pitching up for work. Let's keep fighting. And once we get one win, then we'll get two, then we'll get three, then we'll get, and so on. And I'm worried about the Stormers for this game. If they can turn it around and beat the Bulls, I mean, with the Bulls are now getting into their rhythm, that will be an epic, famous Stormers win. The Stormers are saying the same thing, that they're not far away from clicking. Nathan Fisher was saying exactly that. I hope that's not wishful thinking from the Stormers, but yeah, as a Durbanite and a Sharks man, I can't see past the Bull. I can't see the Stormers beating the Bulls on Saturday.
it's
Let's hear it
the
from the
Storm,
Stormers camp.
the Stormers' wheels have come off, and it's not completely come off, but it's close to completely coming off. I mean, the way they started at the start of the year, the way they defense, the way they tackle people back, set pieces, scrumming them all. It was they looked really organized. They put in some polished professional performances, but we always felt that there was maybe um a flaw to their game, that they were maybe lucky in a few instances, the bounce of the ball here, the bounce of the ball there. And then they came up against the Bulls at the DHL Stadium. They were very lucky to get away with a win
Yeah,
there.
they were.
Um, and then basically the Sharks then it all caught up with them. It spiraled, and then they in Durban as well. It spiraled, and then against the Lions, completely spiraled. So now
Yeah,
they are. Yeah, I don't know how they are going to pull it back. It's tough. They've got a lot of injuries as well, but man, oh man, they have a good record at Loftus. I think that's the one
mm,
thing maybe the
yeah,
URC that they can maybe lean on. But
thankful. Yeah,
my word is going to be tough for them because this Bulls team is now hitting their straps.
yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it's not a good look for the Stormers at the moment. A lot of things happening in the camp as well. The fact that they came out and said now Sasha was made captain maybe a bit too early shows that certain things didn't click there in terms of that decision. So for me, it's difficult to see them going up to Loftus on a run of three losses against SA sides and bagging a win there. They could be saved by some players returning for this game, but I don't see that happening. And my feelings are the Bulls to go with a victory between 15-20.
It's definitely going to be a case of damage limitation, but you never know. You never know. I mean, our predictions on the show has been horrible. It's been, it's, let's be honest, it's been horrible. So you never know. But I think it's going to basically take a superhuman effort for the Stormers to
Well,
try
put it
and.
this way, guys. Sorry, this is the first time the three of us have concurred on a result since we've started the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Bulls by 10 also.
All right, there you heard it. The last word on rugby. The guys are backing the Bulls to bully the Stormers. So let's see if that happens. It's going to be a nice weekend of rugby. We will, of course, be back next Tuesday, another episode of The Last Word on Rugby, as the full URC returns the following weekend. So we will dissect the Bulls game. Say sorry to the Stormers if we have to, but also say we told you so if the Bulls pull this one through. If you haven't yet, click that like button on our channel at the Clutch ZA. Subscribe to it on YouTube and then share this video as we look to bring you the latest news on South African rugby, but also the URC and then the Six Nations, where a winner will be crowned this weekend. Guys, thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.